Hey beauty babes, welcome to my channel. I'm Maria, aka Agape Love Girl. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am going to be testing out a few new Urban Decay face products. So I did receive these in PR. I got a package with all of these products. The newest product is their Stay Naked The Fix Powder Foundation. Then I also did get their Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation and their Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. And then the other newest product is their Stay Naked Threesome, which is basically their bronzer, blush, and highlighting palette. Mine did get a little bit tore up in shipping, but anyway, so I have this to test out. Now, while I know that the liquid foundation isn't super new, it is new to me. I've never tried it, and it seems to me that I could be wrong, but it seems like the powder foundation could possibly be just like the same as the liquid, but like a powder version. I'm not really sure, but I still thought it would be really interesting to put these to the test side by side. I don't know if that's a silly idea or not, considering both of them are brand new to me, so I really have no thoughts on them, and it could be a mess, but I don't know, I just thought it'd be interesting to see how they compare and how they wear side to side. Both of these are supposed to be the same shade, so hopefully they are a pretty decent match for each other, so I don't look too crazy with two different shades of foundation on each side of my face, but we shall see. Now, because I do want to test these products very true to their own potential, I am not going to be using a primer. I'm also not going to be using a setting spray. I did prep my face this morning with some skincare. I just use a facial oil that has like a mix of rose hip and grapeseed and things like that. So I prepped my skin so it would be nice and ready. I do believe that these products are supposed to be a little bit more on the matte side, and considering my skin does lean a little bit dry, I just really wanted to have it, you know, prepped and ready for these products. So other than that, there is not going to be anything else on my face. I really just want to test these out true to their own potential. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into a demo. I think I'm just going to kind of speed through. I'm going to apply the powder on one side, the liquid on the other. I'm also going to be using the concealer. And then after that, I will give you guys some information about the products. We'll do close-ups, and I'll finish the rest of my makeup. We'll do check-ins and all that good stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and start off with the powder first, and for that I'm going to put that on the right side of my face. And since it is a powder, I'm going to go ahead and start with my concealer first. So I am going to be using their Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. If anybody is curious, I did get the shade 30 in Y, which is light neutral yellow. So wow, right off the bat, that concealer has some really great coverage. As you can see, what a difference that makes. If I'm looking up close, I do see a little bit of darkness showing through, but we'll see how well the foundation will do, kind of helping out a little bit. But right off the bat, that is really great coverage. Very impressed. So the powder does come with a mirror. It has a little opening right here, and it does come with this sponge that I do believe says it's like charcoal infused, so it's supposed to be kind of good for your skin. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to apply it first with this, but I kind of feel like I don't know if I might want to use a brush or something. I'm not really sure, but I'll give it a try with this. Okay, I feel like that's fairly even coverage. I did my best to kind of use the sponge everywhere, but I will say I don't really like the use of the sponge. It's so thin and kind of flimsy, and I feel like it's not really applying it the way I would prefer to apply it. So I think I am going to kind of just go over it just a little bit, do another light layer with a brush and see if that applies it a little bit better. This looks very natural. It's not heavy at all. I have experienced other powder type foundations that are just very heavy, and while they give great coverage, they can just look cakey and feel very heavy on the skin. This one is not like that at all, which I am very happy about. But if you guys can tell, it is not like necessarily full coverage. I'm going to go over the claims later. I don't know yet if it's supposed to be full coverage or not, but I can definitely see some blemishes and things like that showing through. My skin looks nice overall and is from a good distance, but up close I am seeing a few little things. Not necessarily a deal breaker for me, but just something I want to note. So I am going to go ahead and take this kind of kabuki brush. This is a synthetic brush from Pure Cosmetics. I'm just going to swirl it around in here a little bit and see if I can get a little bit more coverage and just see how it looks. Okay, I definitely feel like I like the way it applied better with the brush. Like, it didn't make a huge difference compared to the sponge, but it just feels like it applied better with the brush, in my opinion. I just like the way that feels, and I feel like the coverage is really great. Again, I still see a few little small blemishes poking through, but that's something that doesn't bother me at all. I don't necessarily feel like I need full coverage, and I don't mind if some blemishes and things like that show through. I feel like it covers it enough to give my skin a very nice kind of even look. So I'm happy with the way it looks, and I will say, looking close up, I feel like it does give a nice smoothing effect. Comparing one side to the other, I feel like my pores are a lot less noticeable on this side, which is kind of surprising for a powder. So anyways, let me tell you what time it is right now so we know what time I put on this side of my face. It is 11:20 currently. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm going to do a little zoom in just so you guys can kind of see what I see comparing one side of my face to the other. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my pores. I try to zoom in to where you can see the pores. So on this side you can see, you know, my pores pretty well. I don't think I have like super prominent pores, but they're noticeable right here. And then as you can see on this side, it definitely looks a lot more smoothed out. Not completely poreless or anything, but I think it gives a very nice, smooth, even coverage. As you can see, the redness compared side to side here, it gives good coverage, but not perfectly full coverage. It's not covering up everything completely. These are those small blemishes I was mentioning that you can kind of still see. I do have a little bit of darkness here, which I feel like I get that with a lot of products. That's why I typically go in with a brightening powder under my eye. I think it looks, you know, it looks pretty good. I mean, considering the side by side that you guys are seeing, this gives pretty good coverage, and I feel like it makes my skin look pretty good. But let's go ahead and do the other side with the liquid foundation. But I'm going to go ahead and do the foundation first and the concealer second. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to want to apply this. I think I may just use this brush. I'm going to wipe it off on a makeup towel to make sure all the powder's off of it, but I did go ahead and dampen a makeup sponge in case I might prefer that. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just pumping out one pump and see how it goes from there. Okay, just right off the bat, just doing that one little layer. This is actually a much lighter weight foundation than I would have expected. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but I think I was kind of thinking it would be a little bit heavier and kind of more matte and hard to move right away, but it's a very fluid foundation and it's very, very lightweight. I think I'm definitely gonna need more than just the one pump. And it is a little bit surprising because usually when you're using a brush to apply foundations, you're usually going to get more full coverage. So I imagine if I use a sponge, the foundation would be a lot lighter coverage. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go in with one more pump and see how well that covers. But even still, like for such a light layer, it still moved around quite a bit. I feel like this is already such a difference from what my face was before, so it does cover pretty well and it feels really lightweight, which I am really happy about. I prefer lighter weight foundations. Okay, and I am actually really pleasantly surprised by this foundation. Like, it's so lightweight. I really wasn't expecting that. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting it to be so lightweight, and I feel like it still gave really great coverage. And as far as the match, I feel like this side is just slightly lighter, so I'm not quite sure, but in general, I think if you didn't know I had two foundations on, I think you may not be able to tell. You could maybe tell a slight difference, but I'm not quite sure. It could just be because this is a little bit still wet. This is a little bit more dry, but I think overall the match is pretty close. So let me tell you what time it is too, just because I just put that on. I'm going to still do the concealer. It is 11:29 right now. So I am going to go ahead and put the concealer on real quick. Okay. So now that I've added the concealer on top, that definitely lightened it up a little bit, so that could have been also why this side looked a little bit brighter. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys can tell from the viewfinder because when I look, it's hard to tell, but up close, I'm noticing that the coverage from the concealer looks a lot better on this side than it does on this side, surprisingly. Honestly, I kind of think surprisingly that I'm liking the powder side more. I feel like that side looks a little bit more natural, a little less cakey. Not that the liquid side looks cakey, but just if I had to compare them, this side looks more natural. But also you can see how this side looks like it has more coverage on my dark circles, whereas this side you still see, I feel like a good bit of my darkness showing through. Alright, so I went ahead and grabbed my Urban Decay Naked Skin Illuminizer. I love this powder. This is one of my favorites, especially for setting under my eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to set under the eye with the liquid foundation. And I may also bring it over here. I'm going to see. I'm not quite sure. Since it's already a powder, you know what I mean? Like powdered, I feel like it might be unnecessary. But if this definitely adds some brightness. That's why I love it for under the eyes. I'm going to just sweep a little bit all around my face too, but mostly focus that under my eyes. Anyways, what I was saying was if it's adding a little bit more brightness, I want to kind of even that out so it doesn't look like I'm super bright here and then like dull over here. I'm just going to do a touch, like not as much over on this side. And then just lightly sweep that around so we have an even amount of luminosity on both sides. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I think that's fairly even. So now I do want to go ahead and try the little Threesome palette, and this has a bronzer, highlight, and a blush. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides of my face. Probably just kind of speed through this as well, just to finish up my face. I got the shade Naked. There are 3 shades in this little Threesome palette, and the Naked shade is supposed to be the one for medium skin tones. There is one for more pale skin tones, and there is one for deeper skin tones. However, I do find it interesting that this bronzer shade is quite a bit lighter than I would have expected. I still think it looks pretty good on my skin, but I would have thought it would be just a touch darker. It is pretty light. It's very powdery, but they're very soft and build really well. So as I'm dipping my brush into it, there is quite a bit of kick up in the palette, but it's not patchy or chalky on the skin. It's blending very nicely. Okay, wow, the blush is actually really vibrant though. When a little bit heavy-handed with this, I may have to kind of use a blending brush just to help diffuse it out a little bit. So that's a little bit surprising. The blush is, ooh, it's pretty, but wow. Quite a bit darker than I would have expected. Alright, and I feel like the highlight is pretty subtle as well, which isn't, I don't think is a good or a bad thing. It's really personal preference. I did feel like I had to build it up a little bit just to get the shine that I prefer, but I think that might be really nice for a lot of people who prefer a little bit more of a subtle or natural kind of a look. This palette, in my opinion, aside from the blush, it gives a very more natural look to the skin, and I think that's really nice probably for a lot of people. I definitely prefer a little bit more of a pigmented bronzer and a little bit more of a brighter highlight, but overall I think everything looks good. So I'm gonna tell you guys the time again now that I've finished kind of my face. I'm not gonna do anything else to it. I will do my eyes and stuff like that, but I'm gonna do that off camera or for another video possibly. But anyway, so the time right now is 11:50. I'm going to take you guys into natural lighting to show you guys how my face is looking up close. You guys can kind of see how it's looking. And then I'll come back, tell you a little bit more about each of the products. And then after that, I'll just kind of go about my day and we'll do some check-ins. Alright, so here's my face a little bit closer up, still in my studio lighting. I want you guys to kind of see a little bit better of my face close up. Looking at myself, I just looked in the mirror real close and I feel like everything looks relatively the same. If I didn't know any better myself, I wouldn't have guessed that I have 2 different products on each side of my face as far as the foundation, things like that. I feel like everything pulled together and looks the same. It looks really good. If there was one thing that's slightly different, I would say that my nose looks a little bit wonky on the side with the liquid. It looks maybe more cakey. I don't know how quite to describe it. You guys, I'll show you guys up close, but it looks, everything I feel like, if anything, looks a lot more natural on the powder side, which I'm really surprised about. I don't know why, but anyways, overall I think everything looks really good. Everything looks pretty much the same aside from that. Alright, so here's how everything's looking in natural lighting. I feel like, again, overall everything looks the same. It looks pretty seamless. If there's any real difference, it's that the side with the liquid foundation, I feel like I have a little bit more coverage, whereas the side with the powder foundation looks a little bit more natural. Again, these things are very minute differences, not really super noticeable if you didn't know any better, but just some things that I'm noticing. But overall, I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. I feel like overall it looks like very fresh and natural, and I'm really happy with it. Alright, I went ahead and put my brows on just so I could feel a little bit more put together before I came on and let you guys know a little bit about these products. Now, since the last thing I used and already talked a little bit about my opinions, first impressions on, was the Threesome little palette, I figured I would go ahead and get with that first. So this is going to be $36. Like I already said, there are 3 different shades. The one I have is for medium skin tones. The claims on this is that it is a vegan long wear trio of powder, bronzer, highlight, and blush that lasts up to 14 hours. It's supposed to give a real skin-like matte finish. It says Stay Naked's Threesome Super Smooth Powder is incredibly blendable. I do agree with that. It's supposed to be buildable. I do feel like it's a little bit buildable, but it is quite light upon first application, with the exception of the blush that I thought was like really bam pigmentation. But the highlight did build up nice on itself, and I feel like the bronzer did do well building up on itself. It has a natural satin finish that never goes on streaky or cakey. I definitely agree it blended really beautifully because the powders are so fine and creamy. There is kick up. It's not intense kick up, but there is quite a bit of kick up, but it blends beautifully. So this is also infused with Moringa seed oil. I've never heard of that, so I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about that. But its formula contains antioxidant and anti-pollution properties that help to balance and protect the skin. So that's really interesting. Additionally, the packaging is really pretty. It's very sturdy. It does have a mirror in here. So it's a very nice little palette, but of course these are my first impressions. I do like it overall. I definitely feel like it is more of a natural product. So if you're someone who likes a more natural look for these kind of products, you would probably really enjoy this. Now let's go ahead and move on to the concealer. So the concealer is $29. Urban Decay's concealers are so expensive. I wish they weren't, but I do think the packaging is really nice. It's very sleek. It matches with the rest of their packaging, which I think they're doing this whole new line, this new Stay Naked line, and it's all cohesive. It's really beautiful. I do appreciate the doe foot applicator. It's a very unique one that I've not really ever seen before. It's kind of got this curved little bit that kind of hugs, you know, your skin. It's very nice. I do think the coverage is pretty decent, but I think it would need to be built up a little bit. As you noticed, it got good coverage here, but on this side for some reason the coverage wasn't as great. So anyways, let me read the information about this. I know it's not new, but in case it's new to you, I just wanted to share. So I'm not sure if I said, but it does have 25 shades. Oh, this is supposed to be up to a 24-hour wear. So it says buildable coverage, flexible, breathable, does not transfer, real skin, matte-like finish, corrects the look of imperfections. It's supposed to be waterproof, vegan formula, does not contain animal-derived ingredients or byproducts. Sounds really great. I definitely feel like it was very lightweight, very breathable. Matte finish, definitely. It's like a, what did I say, real skin matte finish. I kind of agree with that. That's an interesting description, but I agree with it. So even though it dried down matte, I meant to say this and I don't think I said it out loud, but this side with the liquid products only, even though I did use the Urban Decay Naked Illuminizer to set it down, I didn't feel like it super needed to be set down. Like it set down on its own and it kind of dried down, and I didn't actually feel like it needed to be set, but I did add that for the brightness effect. That's why I added the powder, but it actually didn't seem like it needed to be set. It wasn't going to crease or anything, at least from what I could tell. So I appreciate that. And normally I'm not really big on matte finish products because I do have drier skin, but this is such a comfortable matte finish. It's very unique, very interesting, and was very surprising to me. Real quick, let me talk about the liquid foundation. Okay, so the liquid foundation is $39. It is 1 fluid ounce. It does come in 50 shades. This is a weightless liquid foundation with up to 24-hour wear. These are pretty big claims to be a 24-hour wear. I've never tested a foundation for 24 hours, but I'd be really surprised if it were really 24-hour wear. So anyways, this says it's supposed to be flexible, breathable, real skin, matte finish, very similar to the concealer, it sounds like. Medium buildable coverage. I definitely agree with that. The coverage was not full coverage, and it was really lightweight, but I did feel like I could build it up and get good, you know, better coverage. So does not transfer, minimizes the appearance of pores, stay true color, waterproof, vegan formula. So again, same thing, does not contain animal derived ingredients or byproducts. First impressions, as you guys even saw when I first applied it or heard me, it was surprising because I heard this is like a matte foundation, and most matte foundations tend to just be a little bit thicker, like very drying, you know what I mean? This one was very surprising. It was very thin, very lightweight, and even though I did need 2 pumps to cover this one side of my face, even with that one layer, it gave me good coverage. I just really wanted to build it up a little bit, and because it was thin enough, lightweight enough, adding that second pump, I think it still feels very lightweight and really good. So I'm really impressed by it. But then again, if you need more coverage than this provides, you may go through it kind of quickly, so that could be a pro and a con, or a con depending on your preferences. All right, now let's go into the newest product, the Naked Skin The Fix the Powder Foundation. So the price on this is also $39, and you're getting 0.21 ounces in this. This one comes in just 24 shades, so the shade selection in this is not as vast as the liquid foundation. So interestingly enough, this one is supposed to be up to a 16-hour wear, so quite a bit less than the liquid foundation. And the claims on this says it's a microfine powder. It transforms the skin with seamless, instant, full coverage. I didn't feel like it was full coverage. I felt like I had to build it up a little bit. Breathable, definitely feel like it's breathable. It's very lightweight. It gives a real skin matte finish, again, same as the other products. Does not transfer, stays true to color, water resistant, sweat resistant, vegan formula, does not contain animal derived ingredients or byproducts. So a little bit different claims than the liquid, but overall relatively similar. I'm also noticing that this says it's made with Moringa seed extract as well. I'm kind of really curious about that ingredient. I kind of want to look it up. Okay, so really quick Google search. I'm just reading the very first thing that pops up. So take this with a grain of salt, do your own research, but really quickly I just had to see what this was. So it says the oil's powerful anti-aging properties are among the most appreciated benefits of Moringa oil. They protect your skin against free radicals, reducing the visible signs of aging such as fine lines and wrinkles. Its antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties even help improve acne-prone skin. So it sounds like that as an oil is what it's saying. If you're using Moringa, I've never heard of this before, but if you're using the oil, that's how you're going to have the most powerful anti-aging benefits. But the rest of that is kind of what that Moringa is used for and known for on the skin. So that's very interesting. So you do have that Moringa seed extract in this, so I'm assuming it's supposed to kind of bring a little bit of those same properties to the skin, to these skin products, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if I've seen that Urban Decay does this kind of thing with their products, but the fact that they're kind of including some skincare products into their skin line is very interesting and intriguing to me. I'm someone who loves to use oils on my skin, from essential oils to just regular oils. I love rosehip oil, I love argan oil, grapeseed oil. I love oils for my skin, so that's something that's pretty exciting to me. Like I said, I've never heard of this before, but it sounds really wonderful, so that makes me a little bit more excited for this line. But anyways, I think that's going to be it for the information part of this video. This went a little bit longer than I had expected, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it and find it interesting. And I'm going to kind of wrap it up for now, and we'll do a check-in later on and see how everything's looking. Hey beauty babes, so I am back to do my first check-in. I'm checking in a little bit earlier than I would have expected to, but I'm actually about to head off to the gym, so I really wanted to show you guys my face right now before I go to the gym. Now, I don't think that my gym time will super mess with my makeup, because at this point with my surgery, I really can't do too much crazy exercise, so I'm pretty much going to be going to the gym and walking on the treadmill. I may even do a little stair stepper action, but I'm really not sure. But on the off chance that I sweat and mess up anything, I just want to show you guys my face beforehand. But I also think going to the gym is going to be a really great test, considering these products had said that they're kind of like water resistant, sweat resistant kind of thing, so this should put it to a really great test. But anyways, the time right now, I think it's about 5 o'clock, so it's 4:54 right now, so that puts us at about 5.5 hours of wear so far. Anyways, I thought about doing natural light again, but it's already starting to get dark. So we're just gonna do this studio light and you're gonna have to trust me. So, all right, so right off the bat, I just wanna say that again, I still feel like everything looks super even across my whole face. If I didn't know better, have done my makeup myself, I wouldn't be able to tell that I'm wearing, you know, different foundations on each side of my face. So I do feel like the True to Color, the foundation, they both, even though one's liquid, one's powder, they are the same shade and they both look like the same shade on my face. I feel like everything looks very seamless and matches really well together. So I really am glad about that. So if you maybe had the liquid foundation and wanted to try the powder foundation, you know already what your shade's going to be. They are the same. So I really appreciate that and I think that's really great. Now, next things that I'm seeing, I feel like so far everything is wearing really nicely. I think it still looks pretty good considering I don't have a primer on. I also did not use any setting spray, so there's nothing to kind of help the longevity of this foundation. I think everything is looking really great, and it's really only been 5 hours, 5.5 hours, so I feel like it should still look good. The spots where I feel like it doesn't look the greatest is around the crevices of my nose, but I mentioned that from the kind of the very beginning that I felt like my nose didn't look that great. And that is kind of a sometimes problem area for me in general with a lot of foundations. So I'm not terribly bothered by it. I think from a normal distance away, it doesn't look bad actually. It's just really when I look super, super close up, which is how I'm showing you, so you guys can see what I'm talking about, what I am seeing. But I feel like from a normal distance, from a normal human distance where someone would be seeing my face, they wouldn't look and be like, oh my god, your nose looks crusty or whatever. I think it looks okay. It's not super bothersome, but obviously I want to mention any little thing that I'm noticing. I will say that same thing with earlier, I do think that the powder side looks a little bit better than the liquid side concerning my nose, but both of them kind of look not the best. And then as far as coverage, I definitely feel like the side with the powder, I am getting a lot less coverage. Like I have these blemishes along my jawline that are really showing through on the powder side. And so that's not a huge deal for me. Like I already mentioned earlier, I don't really care about covering those things up. It doesn't bother me to have those things show. But if you are someone who that does bother and you want more coverage, I would recommend using a concealer over your blemishes first and doing that, or really trying to build up the coverage there. I didn't super try to build it up crazy, so you know, it's a very you know, a light coverage, but not an issue for me, but just something to take note of. But overall, I think everything looks really good. Everything looks fairly natural. My skin doesn't feel sticky or tacky. I'm not getting any residue when I touch my face. With the exception of, it looks like my forehead does look like it would be a little, let me touch it. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of residue in there, and I think that's just because my forehead does sometimes get a little bit oily, more so than any other spot on my face. But overall, I think everything looks pretty good. I'm very happy with the way it looks. I'm really curious to see how it will hold up at the gym. But yeah, I guess we will find out together when I check in after that. So I'll see you then. All right, I am back for my final check-in. It is currently 8:20. I don't know if you guys can even see this time, but I'm still showing it just in case that you can see it's 8:20 here. So that is pretty much 9 hours of wear. Like I said, I did go to the gym. I did 20 minutes on the elliptical and 20 minutes, or actually a little bit more than 20 minutes on the treadmill. I didn't do anything too crazy, but I did get a little bit sweaty, more like a dewy kind of sweat, so nothing drippy or anything like that, but I did get a little dewy sweat going on, shall we say. And I think overall, looking at my face from this distance, makeup and wear looks fairly well. I don't think I would feel too insecure if people saw my face looking like this is not too much of a mess considering this is 9 hours of wear time. Of course, the foundation concealer are supposed to be 16 to 24 hours of wear. So I feel like for 9 hours, this isn't looking amazing for something that's supposed to be 24 hours, but I don't wear my foundation that long. I usually only wear my foundation or my makeup in general for 6 to maybe 8 hours in a day. That's me personally. I know a lot of you guys wear your makeup longer and need stuff that's going to be longer lasting. So anyways, I'm going to be zooming in to show you guys what I'm seeing and how everything looks so you can really get a good look at everything. But I think from a normal distance, it's okay. It's not amazing, but I don't think it looks terrible either. So the biggest things that I'm noticing are my nose again, which was an issue from the very start. Now I do have a kind of slight cold or cold symptoms with the fact that I have a little bit of a stuffy / runny nose. And so something that you may notice is that on the liquid foundation side, which is the side of my nose that I said looked the most kind of sort of cakey from the start, you will notice that there's a little bit of creasing, cracking as I kind of wiped my nose like this. I would do this to kind of wipe my nose, and so as I did that, my nose does crease a little bit right here, so you're gonna see a little crease right there. And then additionally, because I kept wiping my nose like this, I was trying my best not to touch my nose very much and trying to be very careful. But anyways, I did end up wiping away some of the foundation on my nose on the powder side, so I feel like most of that foundation is gone. But interestingly enough, the foundation with the powder side I feel like wore away very gracefully. Like it doesn't look like there's just a chunk or patch of foundation missing. I feel like it still looks pretty good considering I wiped some of that foundation away. And so overall, what I am noticing is that aside from the nose difference, I do feel like the makeup on the side of my face with the liquid foundation, as far as like blush, bronzer, highlight, and things like that, it still looks a lot more pigmented, a lot more just there, whereas the side with the powder looks a lot more, what is the word? Just subtle or natural, if you will, or just like a lot less pigmented. Like I feel like the liquid side really grabbed onto the products that are on top of it and looks still really good pigmentation, whereas the other side, powder side, looks a lot more natural. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing that, but I definitely am seeing that in the viewfinder, as well as just looking at my skin up close. Everything on the powder side just looks a lot more subtle. So I don't recall if I noticed that before at all. You guys may or may not have noticed, but that's something I'm noticing now, that in kind of, more towards the end of the day, things on the liquid side of my face look like they're wearing a lot better, where as things on the powder side of my face looks like it's worn away a little bit more. And now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm remembering correctly, the powder foundation said that it was the 16-hour wear, whereas the liquid foundation was supposed to be 24 hours wear. So I don't know if it's maybe that's the reason that I'm getting a better coverage or longer wear with the liquid side, or if it's just the fact that things are going to grasp and stick better to a liquid side versus the powder side. I'm not really sure which is which, but that's just something to note. But other than that, I'm not really noticing anything else too drastic or different from the other times that I checked in and showed you guys my face. But obviously when I look back at the footage, I may see something different. I'm not quite sure, but you guys will at least be able to see, and you guys can kind of develop your own thoughts and opinions on how you think this wore, how you think this looked. I think overall, my first impressions is that I think both of these products are very nice. For my preference, since I don't wear foundation and just makeup that long, I think the wear of this is pretty good. Now, of course, I would do a few things differently. I don't wear primer every day, but I do think this would probably wear a little bit better with a primer, as well as some setting spray, which is what I normally do. I also typically add a lot more powders to my face than I did today. So I think this is definitely out of my routine of what I normally do for my face. Because like I said, from the beginning, I really wanted to put these products to the test on their own without any help from additional products, so you guys can see how they perform true to themselves. But I kind of have a feeling that once I do use primer and setting spray and just do my makeup the way I normally do, these products might perform a little bit better. But overall, I'm not unhappy with the way it looks, and I'm just really excited to keep testing them out for the rest of the month. So this was my first time really trying these products, and this is my first impression, so I don't have a ton of thoughts to share with you. It's just that this is what it is. I'm overall satisfied with the way it looks. I'm kind of just like, this looks okay, I want to keep testing it out and see what I think. But of course, with that being said, I do hope you guys found this video helpful, just being able to see the wear, application, and these check-ins, and you guys can develop your own thoughts and opinions for yourself based on the footage and the things that you saw from me. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on how you think it wore, how you think it looks. If these are products that you have tried already yourself, I would love for you guys to share your own thoughts and opinions, your own experiences and reviews of of these products, so there are more thoughts and opinions for people to gather information from. But anyways, with all that being said, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, much love and hugs to you. Bye, beauty babes. Mwah!